sunshine of Dubai wasn't the sunshine of Dubai either, was it? It was the water of Dubai last year.
We were flooded in Dubai. The racetrack vanished and became a swimming pool.
Park.
Yes.
Yes.
And we did have rain here overnight, but it's gone away, and we're told it's staying away, and we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. In about 30 seconds, we're going to go live for our TV broadcasters. This is English language commentary on channels 3 and 4 of the satellite uplink. We'll be quiet now until we go live in 20 seconds from now. It's our second and final visit to Zolder today. This is the last round of the FIA GT3 Championship, and after the drama of Paul Ricard, we've had one race here today, and now Mies and Haas lead the title race by 7.5 points from Armindo and Campanico. There were no points in that first outing for the number 3 car of Akari and Rodriguez, so they trail by 9.5. They have a mathematical chance at the driver's title, but Hexis have won the team title. At Silverstone, it was all about Morgan, you remember, when this season began, but by the time we got to Adria, it was the turn of Ford and Aston Martin. The Hexis cars really dominated the mid-season. That mayhem on the Mistral last time didn't really change a thing, and they arrived here this weekend virtually tied together with the Audis, and Battle Royal commenced this morning. And that Battle Royal commenced in turn 1. We've been talking about it all weekend. Thomas Akari thought that he could make a lunge down the outside of turn 1 in race 1.
And he did.
He did make a lunge down the outside, but sadly he also lunged off into the gravel trap and lost all chance of the title. Have a look at the map of the circuit and you'll see that turn 1 is the thing that invites you in. There it is, that big left on the blue, and the corner workers there are very busy. There's a couple of chicanes on the circuit as well which invite overtaking, and we have seen overtaking there. I did say the middle one would invite disaster, but Richard Westbrook proved me wrong about that. So there's lots of opportunities for creative drivers to get busy, and this race, unlike this morning's, will start clean. This morning we started behind the safety car because the circuit was wet, and the first half of the race was conducted on wet tyres. That's not going to happen this afternoon, even if it does get dark.
No, but a similarity between the two races is that we will again have the Belgian GT cars running concurrently, but because it'll be a rolling start, their rolling start will be some 20 seconds behind that of the FIA cars. So 20 seconds after our lot are let loose, another green light will release the Belgians.
We will see this set of cars catching up the Belgian GT Championship after a few laps. And the track gets
them
very busy then, but you can pick them out very easily because they start with a 0. Anything you see with a number beginning with 0 is in the Belgian GT Championship, and if it doesn't, it's one of ours.
There you go. And there are quite a few of ours, notwithstanding the fact that we had some fairly hefty carnage in Paul Ricard a couple of weeks ago. We had an incident this morning of which we are still awaiting reports as to the damage to Klaus Hummel's car number 55, which not only was tapped into a spin which then led to it having a nose-to-nose contact with David Ashburn's number 22 Porsche, but then Klaus Hummel conspired to go off in that turn 1 gravel trap on his own and further dislodge bits of Ferrari.
We're going to ride with the number 3 Hexis Aston Martin. This is the number 4. These boys in number 3 could win the title then, 9.5 points behind Mies and Haas, and if there's mayhem in turn 1 they could inherit the championship, but it is a big ask because they're a long way back on the grid.
Yes, it would mean, as you say, Mies and Haas scoring no points at all in order for Akari to win, but only then if he wins the race this afternoon, and they still need to finish several places clear of the other Audi pairing, Nicholas Armindo and Cesar Campanico.
I'm guessing that if Mies and Haas go off, Armindo and Campanico going off with them. That's my guess.
Okay, I'll leave you to speculate on that one as we watch the cars forming up on the dummy grid, having been released from pit lane just as we came on air.
row 4 is the place to look for the head of the championship battle. What we've got is Makavici on pole position for Hexis, which is great for them, but it's the wrong car.
Wrong car.
Morgan have suddenly come alive at the end of the year, and Maxime Martin has plonked 101 at the top there. They had a good outing first time out. Claudia Hirchen, yet again, what we saw from her is great qualifying, great performance, and both the Alpinas failed to finish the race, one through no fault of its own and one through fault of its own.
Yes, Claudia Hirchen disappeared into a gravel trap, didn't she? Just caught the damp edge of the track, which had been drying very nicely and inspiring more confidence in the drivers towards the end of the race.
Fastest lap of the race, didn't she?
Yeah, she was clearly feeling good about the car, and just let the left-hand side of it drift onto the damp outside of the track. Away it went, and backwards into the gravel was her demise.
You may have noticed that Fred Makavici in number 4 was following an Ascari up to the grid, and that is the first time we've seen an Ascari this year, and that's qualified rather well. It's Bremer and Knop this time, isn't it? Knop's done the qualifying
in 6th place
to put it in 6th spot, which is all right because he's in front of both of the Audis. This is pole though, and this could have been a different story really for Hexis Aston Martin. They could be bidding for the championship. As it is, they're waiting to see if it might drop in their direction because they cannot win it. Doesn't matter what they do, they cannot win it.
They can't win the Drivers' Championship. They have already won the Teams' Championship, courtesy of this afternoon's performance.
Yes, they can't win the Drivers' Championship, but they might get it if it worked out that way.
If it were thrown their way, yes.
It might drop into their lap,
yes.
But they cannot win it, whatever they do. They've got Fred Makavici on pole. He was very quick in this morning's race. He's on the grid now and talking to Haley.
Fred, it's the final race of the season. How are you feeling going in on pole?
Yeah. I'm very happy to do this pole, and it's very important for us to finish on a good result, and I hope that we can keep this first place.
Thank you, Fred.
Not bad, eh? He hadn't got a clue what he was being asked then, but he got a vague idea of what we wanted to hear, and I hope we can keep this first place. Sums up the ambition of anybody in pole position pretty much, doesn't it?
Just about. Here's Claudia Hirchen, whose car has been restored to its normal glory. They really do know how to turn a car out, Alpina. They've always presented their cars in an immaculate condition at the start of each race. Sadly, they don't always appear in quite the same condition by the end of it. Thumbs up, however, from Claudia.
If you'd like to send us an email, studio@FIAGT.com is the place to do it. There's a button on the website you can click that just says abuse the commentators, and thank you for the abuse we've had already. Stop waffling. What's that about? Hexis Aston Martin, and this is the championship leader, Christopher Mees.
Christopher, after your great win today, you're a strong contender to take the championship this weekend.
Yeah, we are now 7.5 points in front, so we try our best. Yesterday I had a little mistake in my qualifying. Normally it was a 2nd or 3rd position, and we have a good race pace and a good combination of the drivers, so I think we will be in front after 1 hour.
Thank you, Christopher.
What did he say after I made a mistake in my qualifying and it kind of got lost in his crash helmet?
It went a bit muffly, didn't it?
Yes.
But they had a good result this morning. That's clearly sparked them up for this afternoon's final race of the year.
Indeed.
Alongside them, though, is the major threat, isn't it?
Well, I was just going to say, and the last race of the year is the final showdown, isn't it? The last confrontation of Armindo and Campanico in this car.
That is it.
With the 26 alongside. There's 7.5 points between them. And as you can see, they're side by side. And when they come round at the end of the formation lap, they will pull back into side-by-side grid order. And they'll be able to look across and glare at each other. And I bet they do. We've seen in a number of formation laps in GT racing through the year that there's a certain amount of psychology at work, a little bit of traffic light Grand Prix stuff, the kind of thing you do when you've got road rage and the person next to you has got it as well.
Which is always a good recipe for disaster, isn't it?
Yes, fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Let's hope it doesn't happen here. Lots of Finnish flags suddenly appearing. We've got a little Finnish enclave in the paddock this weekend. Some new names have come to join Mulner Motorsport and their Porsches. And we saw Markus Paltala, who's been a regular, but joined by Petri Lapalainen this time, and they had a reasonable outing this morning.
And Doris Loukaides, the Cypriot driver in the other one, the 19 car.
Yes,
course.
alongside another Finn, which is Petri Manila, the famous envelope.
Just waiting for the grid to clear, and they'll be off on their formation lap. And you can see the flags waving all around the circuit, even though it is now after 5 o'clock here in Zolder, even though it is gradually getting dark, there is still a loud and vociferous crowd here.
There is. We saw good crowds at Paul Ricard in bright sunshine. We've seen probably even bigger crowds here at Zolder, I suspect, under what have been grey and somewhat damp skies this weekend, but it's stayed dry during today's proceedings, and happily looks as though it will for this last event, but you can see the gloom is gathering.
Off to the formation lap they go then, the flag waving them away. Well-behaved parade behind the Wiesmann GT pace car at a nice steady speed, well under 100 kilometres an hour, thank you very much. And a quick look at the circuit that they have practiced on, qualified on, and already raced on once today, and in a couple of minutes from now will be deciding the championship on. There's a thing, will be deciding the championship on.
Yes.
We've had a big afternoon here at Zolder. We didn't decide the GT3 championship in the first race. We did decide the GT2 and GT1 titles in the middle of the day, and we are now going to decide the GT3 title for drivers.
It's great when it all comes down to the very last and there's no room for error anymore. There's no ifs or buts, there's no next time. It's now or never.
Well, it is now or never, and I would say that on row 4 with Mies and Haas beside Campanico and Armindo,
couldn't have been better set up.
There is nowhere to hide, is there?
No.
This championship will be decided on row 4 in about 3 minutes' time, I guess.
And just looking at who's ahead of them on the grid, there are one or two who you would imagine might not remain ahead of them for awfully long.
You're thinking of Norman Knopp, aren't you?
Well, Norman Knopp didn't really set the world alight in the Ascari, did he, this
in the
morning?
first race, no.
And Paltala and Lapalainen as a pairing, although Paltala did pretty well, because he always does, the net result they got was only a 10th.
However, Flo Gruber and Christopher Nygaard on row 2, directly in front of Mies and Haas, number 26. They did very well this morning, and they're going to be hard to pass. Dalia Herken will be hard to pass. Maxime Martin, Gaël Lesoudier, I wouldn't want to try and take them on.
No, that little Morgan has really been suited to the track here, hasn't it?
And then you've got to say, pole position, we just had a glimpse of him, the number 4 car of Fred Makovici. He's a star in that car, and he's going to be a difficult man to get in front of. So there's an awful lot of stuff going to happen on this run to the first corner. We're very excited about this. It's the final round of the GT3 European Championship, and we have our championship contenders just forming up in side-by-side configuration to take the start for the last time this year. And our pole man in the number 4 Aston Martin is Fred Makovici. The Wiesmann GT, there it is, leading them around, is waving them into grid order. 2 lines behind him. Makovici on the right, it's the Morgan on the left of Maxime Martin, and it's row 4 where our championship contenders are. Behind that Ascari is Christopher Mies, and beside him is
Cesar
Campanico, and that's the pole man now leading them on to the main straight. And here we go, it's almost dusk here at Zolder in Belgium, but the last race of the year is underway. Great start from Makovici, and everybody else in grid order coming down towards us. Here's Makovici's view of turn 1. Through he goes. The Audi's terribly well behaved. Campanico gets ahead of Christopher Mies, and where is Maxime Martin? He's been shuffled back.
Paltala running round the outside of the Morgan there, and Flo Gruber going with him in the Ford GT. So
Makavici's gone, hasn't it?
Makavici from Claudia Hürtgen in the BMW, then it's Marcus Paltala third, and I think Flo Gruber has dropped into fourth place in the Fischer GT Ford,
yes,
with the Morgan behind him. Then it's the first of the Audis, which is the Rosberg car, number 32. That's Cesar Campanico. Marcus Knop rather has stayed, I think, between the two Audis, and alongside comes the Ford GT. That's Thomas Much.
That's very tough indeed. Thomas Much making the pass there on Christopher Mies, running him almost off the road. Mies did very well to hang on to it, but now he's going to lose it to the
Danny Van
CRS.
Dongen. Yep.
Straight going through goes the Ferrari. We're on board in number 3, and we're a long way down on that grid, remember. It is row 8 for Rodriguez, and his start here as Maxime Martin and Flo Gruber go door handle to door handle.
Great stuff as they file through the middle chicane on the lap there. The Ford looking as though he wants to get past the Morgan PDQ. Diving to the inside, is he? Having feinted to the outside? No, can't do it. The Audi lines up behind the Ford GT. Lap 1 already completed, and it's Fred Makavici from Claudia Hürtgen with Marcus Paltala third, Florian Gruber fourth, and Maxime Martin actually just taking that place.
This is not good for the championship as far as Mies and Haas are concerned, but it's early days, of course. We've got another 58 minutes to go.
Yes, Mies dropping down to 11th place on that first lap, and says come in 6th. So no points at the moment on the Mies doors. They need to improve on that if they can, but not enough points equally on Campanica score sheet for him to take the title either.
7.5 points between them, and if he's in 6th place he only gets 3, so that won't do the trick, will it?
Not at all, no. They need to be second in order to overcome them and have no points scored by the leading car. As down the inside again goes Thomas Much, and got his way past Johan Boris Scheier in the number 100.
Thomas Much came here this morning as one of 15 people with a chance of winning the driver's title. The race didn't work out as planned for him, and now not one of the half a dozen people who could win the title here, but that won't stop him trying to end the season with a little bit of a race win. He is always a pleasure to watch in that car.
Glowing discs, the sign that it's getting darker, as well as the sign of how hard they're working those brakes on the Audi number 32. One of the Campanico 6th place at the moment. Thomas looking racy, has come up onto the back of Norman Knop in the Ascari. First time we've seen the Ascari in the championship this year. Great shame, but to produce teams this year.
Your last chance, Ellis, if you want to. There's 56 remaining in this season. So studio at GT.com if you'd like. Thank you for this season. Mike in Germany, who says your commentary is one of the best. What do you mean, one of them?
Close.
Yes.
But thank you. We appreciate any positive comments at our age.
Yeah, it is the temperature they work at under the wheel arches. And Jojo Campanico has now got Norman Knop in the Ascari breathing down his neck. Here's another look at the pass that Thomas Much made on the Audi, and it was just as sweet as you like, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely no hint of any need to go any closer than he did, and plenty of space given as well, which is sensible racing. You can't win until the race ends, but you can all end in trouble much too soon if you are not a little more judicious with your allowing of people past at this early stage in the event.
Ford GT races Ford GT. Thomas Much snakes around under braking. The car in front is Flo Gruber in the Fischer Ford GT. That's developed by Matek as well. So you'd sort of think it's advantage Much if there's any advantage to be had.
Yeah.
In terms of equipment, then he would have it. But it's also advantage Thomas Much. He's not just extremely tall, he's an incredibly talented driver.
Yeah, just running wide there. Norman Knop has got himself off the circuit in turn 1, just taking a little bit too much curb and perhaps a little bit too much attention in the mirrors. He's also let Danny Van Dongen go through in the CRS Ferrari. Ferrari are having a better time of it here this afternoon. They have picked up a couple of podiums earlier in the season at Adria and then again at Portimao, but we've not seen a lot of Ferrari action at the front of the field. This morning, however, Kessel Racing, the number 8 car, Stefano Gattuso, took a good podium.
And you can see that Thomas Much isn't finding it so easy to get past a neat little car. He's come up behind Gruber and he's kind of got stuck there. and that's not helping his cause at all. This didn't help the cause of Norman Knott. A bit of a rally cross, but he got it all back together and stayed on it. Only dropped a couple of places and didn't drop the car, which is good.
No, an intense battle here between the two 4GTs, and then a growing battle of intensity between the following Audi and the Morgan, with Maxime Martin up ahead of this in the 101 car in 4th place. But this is Johan Boris Scheier we're looking at in the number 100 car. Now back to the 4GT battle. Great looking cars, these.
And you can see that Thomas Butch has lost a bit of momentum. Really, what he's done in the early part of the race is absolutely right. You come up behind a car, you've really got to come up and go past it. And if you don't go straight past it, you tend to drop back to its
like
speed.
That, you mean?
Now he's got an opportunity, but Gruber's not playing that game, is he?
No, he's not, and just not able to hold the tighter line.
What you could see there in the background over the canal was the sunset here in Zolder. We said this race would run into dusk, and it's already dusk, and the sun is sinking slowly in the west, if I may make so.
Very poetic at this stage of the season, I thought.
wrote that line myself, you know.
Lots of brake dust being chucked out by the 28 car. Everything gets very hot underneath those wheel arches. Even in the cool part of the day, where we certainly are now, it will still be very, very high temperatures on those brakes. Here's another look at Thomas Mutch trying to make his way down the inside of Florian Gruber, but just hooking the curb and not able to keep the momentum, keep the power in.
There was another look at that lovely red sky in the background. If my weather forecasting is right, then it's going to be a lovely day in Belgium tomorrow.
That's where sadly we shall no longer be.
Yes. And it's still Makovici after 5 laps, by 5 seconds from Claudia Hirsch, and then Marcus Paltala, then Maxime Martin, as Graham was saying, just up ahead of this little battle. And Thomas Mutch stalled now behind Gruber for quite some time. This is the Matek box. They're all watching this with some interest, because they've got some interest in both of these cars, of course, having had spanners on both of them at some point in their lives.
Lots of drivers continuing to improve their personal lap times, including Cesar Campanico in 7th place, behind this battle between the two 4GTs. Oh, sorry, ahead of.
The Morgan looked very strong this morning, and again you've got 4th place and 8th for Johan Boris Scheier. Is this Claudia Hirchen? Are we already up with the Belgian GTs? I think we are.
Martins, isn't it? And the 18 car tucked in there as well is one of the Mulner Motorsport cars.
So that would be
Marcus Paltala in 3rd place, so it will have been Claudia Hirchen before. Here's Thomas Mutch, got a run on that bit, and Boris Scheier ooh, that was all a bit close, wasn't it?
It was all a bit unnecessary, but it's Johan Boris Scheier who makes me laugh, because he smokes the tyres on that car everywhere he goes. And here's a little bit of Ferrari excitement. We were saying we haven't seen a lot of them this year. They've been on the podium more times than we could recall this morning. But even so, it's not been Ferrari's best year in GT3, whereas it's once again been right up there in GT2, and quite honestly, it's only been dint of extremely hard work that it got beaten in the GT2 Championship this year.
Both the Fords making their way past another of our Belgian runners, and will now have to make short work of getting past the Barwell Aston Martin ahead of them. The yellow car there, not in the same race effectively as the two Fords, but nonetheless will endeavour not to trip them up.
Thomas Mutch will hope that he can capitalise on this. He will hope that Flo Gruber will get stuck behind that Aston Martin, but it hasn't happened. Thomas Mutch hasn't been able to do anything about it, so there's no advantage for him there, and now they're in clear air, chasing after the Morgan ahead of them of Maxime Martin.
Yeah, and he in turn is keeping very close tabs on Marcus Baltala's Porsche. That just very slowly falling away from Claudia Hirtgen's BMW, Schaber Walter, to take that car over after the mandatory pit stop. Somewhere between minutes 23 and 37, we must have a pit stop for a driver change, and that pit stop must have a duration of no fewer than 70 seconds.
We had no trouble with that this morning because everybody was changing tyres. And that car has been in the wars all weekend, hasn't it?
Yes, we saw it pointing in the wrong direction rather too often in race 1 this morning. It's Paulo Bonifacio, the Brazilian driver, at the wheel at the moment, having started that car, but already 2 laps adrift and not looking as though their day is going to get any better.
Meanwhile, Maxime Martin not just keeping tabs on Marcus Paltella, he's got his hand on his shoulder,
yes,
and he's looking over his shoulder, reading the dials on the Porsche's dashboard at the moment. That's how close he is.
And he'll soon be trying to read which way Marcus Paltella is going to take the next few corners, so he can take an even better line and make his way past, as is still the case for Thomas Much, trying to get on terms and then past Florian Gruber in the 28 Fischer Racing Ford GT. Those two still separated by less than a second, as we saw them last time through, just a half-second gap.
Makovici, after 8 laps, 5.4 seconds the gap. He has got it pegged and he's holding it nicely, and that's all he needs to do.
This is the battle for the last podium step, of course. Marcus Paltella currently holding that 3rd position, but we've got lots of driver changes to be made yet. Maxime Martin is going to hand over to Gaël Lesoudier, who is probably just as quick a peddler, and it might not be quite as bit of smoke and all sorts going on over the brow of the hill there. Morgan getting very racy and definitely feeling he's being held up, I think, by the Porsche ahead of him.
We've had a couple of questions about next year's calendar, and I'm minded to mention that Maxime Martin's name is already on the entry list for the World Championship next year.
Indeed.
And so are a few others. If you'd like to know more, the FIA GT website has all the details of next year's calendars, including the countries we'll be visiting, which do include Canada. That's as close as we come to North America. And we have had questions about that, and Mike in Germany says, okay, I'll give up, you're the best.
And North America coming to us in the form of a new 2-car Audi R8 team from the USA.
Yep, that was announced at Paul Ricard. So there's a lot going on in GT1, GT2, GT3. Don't be put off though, you will still see these big weekends across Europe where we got GT1, GT2, GT3 and on occasions GT4 as well, all together. And this Belgian Championship, mixing it on the circuit at the moment, is making it hard work for these drivers. And Maxime Martin finding his way on tiptoe around the outside there, hasn't lost too much ground, and Marcus Paltella hasn't gained very much, has he?
Thomas Much has made up a few car lengths right onto the back of Florian Gruber now. Very neat piece of overtaking by Gruber, just threading the needle between 2 slower cars and leaving Thomas Much no opportunity to do the same. He's now put a slower car between himself and his pursuer. That's now been dispatched, and Thomas Much is right back on terms.
Thomas Much, as you'll notice, hasn't been able to get past Gruber though. He can tow right up to the back of him, picking off cars one by one with what looked like comparative ease, but it hasn't worked for him. Norman Knopp has brought the Ascari in, and they've obviously trunked a curb or something.
Yes, expecting the steering at the left corner there.
It's dark outside, isn't it? It's dark outside this office. It's dark on this racetrack, and these drivers have done this before at Adria, and some of them have taken part in the Spa 24 Hours, so it's not a new experience, but there are no lights around the circuit here at Zolder, are there?
The difference. At Adria we were floodlit. Here
mostly.
It's mostly. Here it's largely dark out once you get out in the woods. There are illuminated areas around 1 or 2 of the corners and at the start-finish straight, obviously. But out in the back of the circuit, it's going to be pretty dark. Down comes the Morgan on the inside of Marcus Paltella. We're getting a few spots of rain appearing on some of the lenses around the circuit, we're being told. So brave manoeuvre down the inside finally by Maxime Martin to hold off Marcus Paltella.
That was good, wasn't it?
Paltella not able to respond, and the Morgan inherits 3rd place. Claudia Hurtgen still 2nd. Fred Makovici up the road by some 8 seconds from her, and the Aston Martin still leads.
Can't see the rain spots anywhere, but our cameramen around the circuit are reporting rain. That could turn this whole race upside down, and we'll wait and see what happens, because a rainstorm is exactly what Ackery and Rodriguez want, isn't it? Stuck in 14th place at the moment is the number 3. That's not a championship winning position. There's the pass by Maxime Martin. That's just the textbook thing, isn't it?
Yep. Door left open rather by Marcus Paltella, almost inviting the pass. And you wonder whether he's starting to struggle under the pressure that was being exerted by the Morgan driver.
There was pressure being exerted, wasn't there?
There was
pressure.
a deal of the stuff, and he's now going to get more of it because Florian Gruber has come right up under his tail on the Ford GT, and bringing with him, of course, Thomas Much.
It's hard for us to see, it's hard for the drivers to see. We haven't seen the wipers coming on. Now, remember, we ran the first part of race 1 in the rain and changed the slicks at the pit stops. That's why there were no real infringements on the pit stop 70-second rule. And I think perhaps there are wipers on now. That Ferrari's definitely got the wipers on, hasn't it?
One of the Belgian cars.
Maxime Martin, on the other hand, hasn't seen it necessary to do that. And you can see a little bit of rain there, I think.
Perhaps hasn't found the switch.
Oh, yes, you can see a little bit of rain.
That's
Thomas Much, isn't it?
That's Thomas Much.
And that stops. He's going to get that started, or is he?
It's all 4 wheels off the track, and the front 2 just nestling into the gravel.
Just lost the back end on the rain. We were just seeing actual rain here, and Thomas Much arrived backwards in our picture. And I think that's confirmation that this is one of the corners where the rain has been found. Oh, there's another one.
Oh dear, that's
at the end of the main
Quaif's car, Danny Van Dongen.
Round the back.
Yeah, we saw him making good times earlier on. He'd been up to 9th place before this happened. There is the rain quite clearly falling through the headlights. You can see the rainfall there.
It says now on our timing screen, rain on circuit, but I think most people have noticed that now, but obviously it's caught 1 or 2 people out early on, Much and Danny Van Dongen, or rather that car. Makavici, rain on the screen, he must know about it, but he's with the wiper on. Sometimes when you've got oil on the screen, it makes it smeary and much. Oh dear, Belgian
another
GT,
Belgian.
Backwards into the gravel and the Armco, so it's definitely raining in more than one place around the circuit. And there's Makavici off onto the curbs, back onto the tarmac, and hanging on to that number 4 Aston Martin just by the skin of his teeth. It is raining, it's time for a pit stop. We need to change tyres, men, and the pit stop window is not yet open.
2 minutes away, isn't it? Safety car is being deployed to bring things under control until presumably the pits are opened, and people can then make the sensible choice and get out and get the wet tyres booted onto these things. That's the 19 car, isn't it? The Molnar car,
yes.
Rather than, so that's Doros Lukaides, the Cypriot driver, who's had a bit of a whoopsie. Managed to extricate 5 from its parking spot, but I'm afraid Danny Van Dongen is well and truly buried in the gravel there.
They will get a rope on it, they will get him out. There's the safety car waiting to join. He's waiting to pick up the lead, and you can see the rain in the headlights of the Wiesmann GT very clearly there. And I think you're right, Graham. I don't think there's any choice about what to do on tyres. You need to put cut tyres out on the track now, and you need the pit stop window to be open, and we're still waiting another 3 minutes just before that will happen.
And what we don't need is a repeat of the incidents that befell so many people at Paul Ricard in a situation rather like this, where it started on a broadly dry circuit on dry weather tyres, and then the rain suddenly appeared, and one after another cars were disappearing into the Armco at a rate of knots.
Thomas Much has lost a lot of laps there, and that's ruined his weekend when it was all going so well and was promising such excitement as well. The tow trucks are out, the safety cars out, the rain is falling, there's 40 minutes, just less than, still on the countdown timer, and our final race of the year has provided the drama that we've seen all through the season, hasn't it? It's been like this all year.
It has, and out at the head of the field, let's remind ourselves, it's still Fred Makavici's Aston Martin, 1 or 2 teams preparing already for pit stops.
Is he still going? Fred Makavici, he was all over the place earlier on.
Yep, yes, he's still got an 8-second lead and more over Claudia Hürgen, but that of course will all be neutralised when the safety car picks them up and they all have to fall in line behind. Any gaps that had been built up will be annulled.
Yes, and the corner workers, as you can see, pushing cars out of the gravel. The yellow flags are waving. I don't think anybody needs to be told now that we have a safety car on track, or if it's not on track, it will be in a moment. And now we've got some difficult championship decisions to make. Let's have a look. Fred Makavici leads Hürgen, Maxime Martin, and then Marcus Beltella. Flo Gruber, Campanico is still 2 places ahead of Christopher Mies. at the moment, which isn't enough to win him a title. So Mies and Haas are still looking fairly comfortable.
There's the Lamborghini that seemed to be one of the early people to fall foul of the wet conditions out in that part of the circuit. Christopher Haas, we saw in pit lane just a moment ago, already got the helmet on and hoping to take over the car. You can see the amount of water on the lens of that camera now as the headlights come into.
And we have all calmed it down now behind the safety car. Obviously, they're forming a nice orderly queue. A little bit of side-to-side stuff from the Morgan there. I think got slightly out of control, but it's all better now.
There is the Wiesmann GT once more ahead of the field. Everybody will now have to respect its speed until such time as the pit lane is open, and then they have the option to either continue around behind the safety car or go in and get those wet weather tyres on.
And the race director's call on the safety car now, I suppose, will be that once the pit lane is open, everyone who wants
if you're daft enough to want to stay out.
Yes, good luck to you, but everybody who wants tyres can go and have them, and therefore the safety car can be withdrawn because the corners are clear, and we are heading towards pit lane there at the moment. And the pit window is now officially open.
That moment has come, hasn't it?
So will they all just come parading in, or will they follow the safety car around? Well, Makavici's staying out. Obviously, the teams haven't told everyone on track that they can come in.
Thus far, nobody electing to come into pit lane.
Looking down the list, you think Makavici's the fastest man in his team in number 4. Claudio Hurtgen probably in 24 is quickest. Maxime Martin. Now, you see, that's not an easy call, is it? Martin and Gaël Lestudier.
Christopher Mies has dived into pit lane. I would have expected Julian Rodriguez in the number 3 car to do the same. Eric de Donker has.
They're thinking,
the 4 GT.
If it rain stops, we don't want different tyres, we want the ones we've got.
Yes, that's always possible.
So if you change tyres now and then the rain stops, there may come a time when you don't want the tread, you want the slick again. But no doubt about it, for Mies and Haas, they are going for their full driver change and they're going for a tyre change. And as you can see, or you could see just now, that they're putting on tyres with very pronounced tread on them.
But it's quite cool out there now. It's dark. There's no wind to blow any moisture away.
It took a long time to dry, to be fair, this morning in the sunshine.
And the cars running around behind the safety car are not going to be clearing any water away. So this might be the smart answer, to get your pit stop done while everyone else is being slowed up by the safety car. You still have to spend 70 seconds from pit in to pit out beacons. However, the people who are on the track are not getting as far around it while you're doing that.
It will, 70 from in and out, so that's not 70 seconds at a standstill, and the tyre change we know takes about 25 seconds. So if you're changing tyres, you don't have a worry about infringing that pit stop rule, and we have seen that before. So the pit stop window's still open, the safety car is still on track, the umbrella's up all around the circuit, and I think you're right, Graham, 35 minutes left to go on the clock. Really, those tyres are going to last you to the end now, aren't they? Whatever happens.
I thought so, unless the rain stops straight away. And a dry line appears very, very quickly, which hasn't been the way we've seen it happening this weekend. More wet weather tyres laid out ready. That's for the other Audi.
So this, once again, has given us something to conjecture with. Our championship shaken up and scrambled, even at this very last gasp in the season. Fred Makavici, at the head of the field, has decided not to come in, and I can't really see an advantage in staying out. He is the faster of the two in that car, but he's not going anywhere behind the safety car, and the safety car clearly isn't going anywhere, so he might just as well get it over and done with now. As you say, it's not a free pit stop, but it's the next best thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a cheap one. And plenty of water still around. Clearly no sign of the rain stopping just at the moment.
He thinks he should be in as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You think, yes, come on.
Yeah, waiting. In has come one of the MP garage cars, the French-entered Alpina BMW B6 GT3s.
Where is he? He's saying,
where's
bring
my
him
man?
in. They're ready with the wheel gun, they're ready with the tyres, they're ready with the driver change. Where is the driver in the car? It's his last chance to do a couple of laps, I suppose,
He's on
this
his
season.
way. There's the pit lane entry, and cars are this time filing in much greater numbers.
You'd think if you're a team, you'd got this sorted, wouldn't you? And you'd bring them in one at a time, but Fred McAvici has stayed out there. And does that mean that Akari has gone in? And where is Akari on our leaderboard at this point?
Well, it's Rodriguez number 3 in 10th place at the moment. Our championship contender, Thomas Akari, alongside him to take the car over. I would have expected that car to have been in, but doesn't. Yes, he is now.
You want Akari in that car as fast as possible, don't you?
Yep, you absolutely do.
Right.
The one thing you don't want to do is leave your car out there so long that you end up coming in on the lap when the safety car decides that it's time to come back in and let everyone else loose. So Team Rosberg have avoided that by bringing in Cesar Campanico to hand over to Nicolas Amindo.
Firework time in the number 32 Audi has just arrived.
In these conditions, any over-aggressive driving is likely to see you leaving the circuit every bit as quickly as your competitors.
Claudia Hurchen has brought in the number 24, the Alpina B6 GT3, and will hand it over to Schaber Walter.
That's the completion of the pit stop from a technical point of view for the 32 car. It fires up and away it goes. Schaber Walter waiting to get that car going with encouragement from Claudia Hurchen. Still work going on the car. She's getting very frustrated with that delay.
But they're doing up the belts for Schaber Walter.
Oh, yeah. That was a proper strop walk away from the car there from
handbags.
Yes. Well, Claudia can't she?
Still behind the safety car though, and the pit window's still open, and I presume they're going to leave that out there until the window closes, and that way you can guarantee that everybody's had a chance to change tyre.
This is the second of the BMWs, and looks to be having a bit of a problem, a slow change on that rear right. Jens Klingmann led the first race this morning before the car was brought in.
And then stopped mysteriously on the main straight.
Martin Matzke to take over, and there we go.
That was a bit previous, wasn't it?
It was Matzke who started the car this evening, so Klingmann is now going to be out there.
And the team really shouldn't have released him just at that moment.
Precise moment, no.
And a bit of care and attention called for in pit lane. What is Fred McAvici doing in that number 4 Aston Martin? He must come in now.
Mustn't he? Can't see what they stand to gain by tooling around behind the safety car at this point.
On slicks.
So there we are. They've either left it too late, or they're hugely confident that this track is going to dry very quickly. McAvici on his dry weather tyres, his slick tyres, is going to romp off into the distance.
I don't think we're going to see that.
They've brought him in. They brought him in, and it's too late. They've missed the ideal opportunity. The circuit is now green. Everybody who's out will now be up to full racing speed in a matter of seconds, and Fred McAvici will be making his stop while everyone else is racing around, including the number 2 car there. That's Christian Mamero, having taken over from Eric de Donker.
Well, there's a strange call.
Shuffle, shuffle. We still haven't had a stop though from Marcus Paltala. There is Fred McAvici's car. I think that's a huge tactical mistake on the part of Hexis.
They were leading the race, they aren't leading it now, and they aren't going to be, I don't think, either.
That car not now in any position to assist Thomas Akari's charge in any way. Akari currently recorded down in 20th place. The wet tyre business has already paid out. Christopher Haas was 6th last time past timing beams. He's just gone off into the lead.
And that's his championship position sorted, isn't it? Because they are invincible in the lead of this race.
Yep, Nicolas Armindo. There is a replay of everything going on. Here is the 32 car, Nicolas Armindo now at the wheel, and 2 Belgian GT cars ahead of him duking it out.
And he's at the moment, Nicolas Armindo's right down the leaderboard, but that's the pit stop mangling that we were talking about this morning. And that will soon redress itself. He won't be right that far down, but he's still not going to be where he needs to be, is he?
Here's a little mitigation for sending that car out directly in front of the Morgan. I didn't think I saw any lights on the Morgan when it was in pit lane, and we've just got a notification that 101 needs to have its lights put on, please.
So it might actually be running without lights.
I think
the
they
rules,
just didn't see it come down the pit lane.
It is
in the
dark car, isn't it? It's dark
Yeah.
green. The rules do require that you run with lights.
Even in the daytime.
And if you can't, then you are in breach of the rules. So if you can't switch them on, you have to come in and have them fixed. And we've seen races won and lost in that way at Adria in previous races, so it's quite a significant rule. Obviously you do need to be able to see when cars are coming down the pit lane, don't you?
The television cameras here giving us an image which looks as though it's a great deal brighter out there than it actually is, as again Christopher Mamaro makes his way past the number 18 car of Marcus Paltala. Now he was in the lead when the safety car came in, but he's still on slick tyres, and boy is he going to struggle.
And I'll tell you something, Christian Mamaro this morning in that Ford GT was very uncomfortable in the rain, even on slick tyres. So you'd have to say that Marcus Paltala has made, or his team, Northern Motorsport, have made a really tactical blunder in their case, because that shouldn't be happening. Makovici lost completely lost any understanding of what that was about.
That's the car we were talking about, was running around with no lights. It's got an indicator flashing, which at least I suppose will make it partly visible, but
and it's got rear lights, I think.
The cameras are making it no lights on at all. It's just an indicator. The camera is making it look a lot brighter outside than it actually is. If you were sitting where we are looking out of the window, you'd see it's pretty much full dark outside. That's the glare of headlights coming towards us, and the rain on the lens tells its own story.
Yes, it's still raining, it's still wet, and cut tyres are the only answer for this situation. And Marcus Paltala hasn't got them and is paying the price.
Still showing in the lead because of the amount of time he had ahead of everybody else in the queue, but everyone else is now on those wet tyres and is going to start speeding up and getting past him anytime soon.
Pit stop window.
Plus he has a pit stop
still open for him, and I cannot see any sensible reason for leaving him out there.
Well, he's only got about 3 more minutes before he must come in.
And so you'll guess that any second now we'll see his number go red on the timing screen, which means he is in pit lane, which will put Charles Walter back in charge of this race in first place.
Yep.
And then we've got that number 101 in second. He has got no lights, so he might have to stop, so it could all change again. We think, do we not, that Christopher Haas might have assumed the lead in 26? Effectively.
Paltala on slicks is still circulating in the 147s, as is Sharba Volta, who we know has changed tyres during their pit stop. 147s pretty much the times all the way down at the moment in these wet conditions, and it doesn't look as though, for the moment at least, it's making a lot of difference. Maybe just the skill of Marcus Paltala, of course, that's enabling him to keep that port. Oh, others are not having such a good time of it. That's the Barwell Aston. Again,
there's 2 cars off
there. There's another
there.
car that we can't identify from that angle behind us. I suspect it might have been one of the Alpina BMWs.
Lots and lots of gravel have been brought onto the racetrack there as they approach the braking zone for the chicane, which is not much fun.
Still 101 is circulating without any lights on. Can't be that they don't know, can it? Number 18 in Paltala from the lead. That will then be assumed by Sharba Volta. Comes to a clean stop.
And they're changing the tyres, I think. Or are they just taking the pressure? They're just taking the pressures. They're going to leave him on slicks. They think that conditions are improving. They must think conditions are improving. They're taking a gamble on this. And we'll wait and see whether that pays off or not.
Yes, it rather depends on how comfortable Petri Lapalainen is on doing that. 101 is going to be called in for a stop-and-go penalty, where he has to switch off the engine.
That's a big one for one of the Belgian cars, I think. Can't see the number on it, but it looks very unfamiliar green colour scheme. And that's one of our cars.
That's one of the MP cars, isn't it? Oh, yes, that's a big one.
That'll be the rain which caused that. Let's have a look here and see what happened. All you can see is headlights, and you can see how difficult it is for the drivers.
Somebody wide out on the. It's the MP car that started that.
Oh dear, it's been over.
A roll for the Belgian car, landing up on its roof, spiralling round and round, and ending up hard against, in fact, almost on the Armco, and that was, I'm afraid, down to the MP car getting very wide onto the curbing, losing the plot altogether, and spearing into the side of the other car that had simply nowhere to go.
That's exactly what happened in Paul Ricard, isn't it? The Mistral just onto the curb, lost the back end, and we triggered off a massive 6-car accident. That's a huge role for the Porsche.
Arthur Blaney, who's started all that, I'm afraid.
That's a very lucky escape for the driver in 0250.
Not so for his car.
Not so for 34 either. That's dragging an awful lot of bodywork back to the pits and distributing debris all over the place. Yeah. There are rules about not doing things like that, and you may see penalties applied, but it's not going to be any compensation or any kind of recompense for...
I don't think for a moment there was any intention. It was hugely unfortunate, but he did lose the car quite badly out on the curbing, and because of that, shot back onto the circuit at an angle that they simply could not have anticipated in the 0250 car. Ended up with nowhere to go but to point at the barriers, and that's where he ended up. The car dug in and tipped over. I think that's a circuit car rather than a safety car.
We do have some circuit vehicle on track and lots of waved yellows at the moment. That may be a medical car on its way round to the driver of the 250 Porsche, but we saw him out and talking to the marshals, so he's probably okay. And all that excitement, what we didn't notice is that there's a stop-go penalty applied to car number 18, which is now Lapalina, isn't it?
Yes.
So they were too swift on their don't change the tyres pit stop.
Absolutely. Not changing the tyres was what done for them, sir. That and a bit of dodgy stop watching, which means the lead does go, as we anticipated, to Schaber Volta. Claudia Hurton was getting very exercised that they need to get that car out quickly, and how right she was, because the result is they've gone into the lead. They head the field from now Gail Lesoutier aboard the 101 car. Lapalainen is going to be penalised, so we're now going to have 100 coming in, but 101, remember, has already been assessed with the stop and go penalty for not having its lights on, so they'll have to come in. They'll lose that place,
and if they can't start the lights, they won't be allowed to go back out, will they?
They've got to switch off the engine and restart it as part of their stop and go, and they will not be allowed to exit pit lane again without the lights on. That'll hand that place then to Julien Briche, who's taken over the number 100 Auto GT Racing Morgan from regular driver Johan Boris Shire. And then Rodrigues
in number 4.
In number 4, having taken over from Frad Mikovici, will follow up there. But it's Christian Mamero in the number 2 Ford up next. Then the first of our championship contenders is Christopher Haas. It is now, isn't it?
Yes.
Me started Haas to follow, and he's in 7th place, so picking up a couple more points to further extend their lead as things stand at the moment. But
and
Nicolas
they will extend
Armindo is on the move as well.
But he is a long way back. He's 11th and Haas is 7th. We've got a couple of Belgian GTs in between them, so it's actually an effective 9th.
Which won't score, so yes.
But
still
even so,
points.
yes, not enough for the championship. So at the moment, Haas and Mees are looking good for the title they came here to claim. Mostly because this circuit just doesn't seem to have suited the Aston Martins. They didn't qualify well, and in both races they have not been able to improve on mid-grid positions, really, have they?
Now we have a situation where we saw cars going around. That's the damaged BMW that unfortunately tipped the 0250 car into this spin. There's the car going out wide, just spearing off across the track and punting into the side of the Porsche. Absolutely innocent bystander, nothing to be done. Probably didn't even see the car coming until it was too late. The driver's door is open, thank goodness. Everything was securely inside the car.
He was a very lucky driver, wasn't he? Very lucky bunny to get away with that one, because as you say, first he will have known about that is when the BMW arrived on the passenger side of the car with a big loud thud.
Yeah, and that was Jorma Varnanen in the West End Racing Porsche.
So we've had the drama, haven't we?
We've come to an end.
Oh, no, we've had the drama. We said we would. It's been an unexpected kind of drama, as always. And correct me if I'm wrong, that is slicks going on that car, isn't it?
That's 32 taking the gamble, placed where they are. They really have nothing much to lose. They've seen that wet and dry tyre times seem to be broadly the same, so maybe the circuit will dry up enough for them to benefit from this in the last 18 minutes, but its stop alone is going to cost them 1 minute.
Easily, 70 seconds is, remember, the time allotted for a regular pit stop. They don't have to stick to that, but that's a good idea of how long a pit stop should take you. And they've got to make up that 70 seconds on track, on a drying track, in the dark, with those slicks. And that's a brave call by the team, isn't it?
It is, because one of the other difficulties are going to come with their Walter just getting a little bit nervous into the chicane there. One of the other problems you're going to come up against in these conditions, as it's getting darker, is that the car you're coming up against ahead of you might not be readily identifiable. You don't know how that's going to behave when you get there, particularly as our regular drivers are now also up against a grid of unknown drivers in there, at least unknown to them, in the GTs a little.
One of them isn't unknown, and I know who that was.
That was Westbrook R, was it?
I think it was. He's currently 20th place in one of the Belgian GT Porsches, and I think I recognise that style.
Yes.
Oh no, I'm wrong. It's 12. It's Nicky Lanning.
Yeah,
I've done our new GT2 champion a disservice there.
Yeah, but he is down there, and funnily enough, running in company with Bert Longin, who is also out in this race.
And you can see there, look how dark it is. That's what it looks like to the drivers. It's completely different to what we're seeing. It's night for this race, and it's a big challenge for everybody. And some people have risen to it rather better than others, and some people haven't risen to it at all.
At the end of the day, I'm afraid, in terms of championships for 32 car, they've just been assessed a drive-through penalty. That was the one that just came in and changed on to Nicholas Armindo, changing back onto slick tyres.
Why would they? That must be pit lane speeding, wasn't it?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? So that, unfortunately, almost inevitably hands the title now to Christopher's Haas and Mies, currently sitting out there in 6th place. That's going to become 5th, because finally Gaël Soudier brings in this lightless Morgan to serve that stop and go penalty. It won't be allowed to resume unless they can get the illumination sorted.
It'll stop in the oh dear, that's a Belgian GT, and that's 012. That's one of the Ford GTs in the Belgian Championship, and that's well and truly beached. That's up to the axles in gravel. And here's a little touch going into the chicane with what was that? It was another Belgian that was on the bar wheel cards on the other side.
Yeah, I think so. That's Pertti Kiesmannen in the Ford GT.
And somebody else is thinking it's time for
this is Alpina
slicks,
having a rethink about what tyres should really be on that car. And it's Jens Klingman who's going to be out in that again when it resumes, having taken the car over after its first stint from Martin Matzke.
This isn't really going to produce a result, I don't think, for them. It might produce some good last laps, but it's not going to do them a huge amount of favours. So, drama, excitement, weather, sunset, gravel traps, championship now pretty much decided, I think, with 15 minutes to go, unless something bad happens to the 26 Audi in the last few laps of this race. All Christopher Haas needs to do now is just keep going.
Even if it does, the only one who is close enough to benefit, I think, is going to be Thomas Ackery in the Aston Martin Hex's car number 3, but he needs 10 points.
I wonder what tyres are on that car. His laps are 1:45, which is not as quick as some of the times that we've seen up there. I mean, we've got 1:38s on this timing screen at the moment from some of the drivers, and we've got 2:05s, 1:45s, 1:49s, all kinds of times. There's the drive-through for 32, which has banjaxed their afternoon and their championship, I think, fairly conclusively.
Quickest car out there at the moment on last lap certainly was Pertti Lapalainen in the Molnar Motorsport car, which we saw brought in quite late. He's running in 2nd place at the moment, behind Schaber Volta in the 24 Alpina BMW B6.
Didn't take the wet tyres when he came in for the pit stop, so has benefited from not having to go in and get slicks, and he's on the same ones they started the race on, and it seems to have paid off. It looked like a very brave, almost foolhardy decision when they took it, They left the car out and then brought it in late and left it on slick tyres, but it does look like they left it out there while they made their minds up, doesn't it, and had to think about that, and eventually when they made the decision, they did the late change, and it seems to be working for them. So certainly looking like, I mean, they're 33 seconds behind Sharble Walter, but 10 clear of Christian Mamero in the number 2 Ford GT. So their second place looks fairly well sorted, doesn't it?
For the time being, a place that might not be sorted yet is the final podium step. Christopher Mamero and Julien Briche circulating in much the same times. There's only 2 seconds separating at the moment, with still over 12.5 minutes remaining.
And the number 4 back out on track, but it's number 3 that interests us a little bit more, because Thomas Ackery is climbing the leaderboard in the number 3 Aston Martin, and have Alpine elected to bring in their lead car, or have they left it out there?
No, there it is, and it is that that same thing again. I wonder if Claudia is now tearing her hair out even more than she was before. They've elected to bring the car in. They feel perhaps it was losing too much time.
Christopher Haas got a big decision to make. He's currently in 6th place on the wet tyre, and Thomas Ackery is currently in 10th. And we don't know what tyres they put on that Aston Martin in that pit stop, do we?
No, Ackery's last lap in the 44s and Haas is in the 47s. So certainly benefit for Ackery on whatever he's on, or he's simply coping with the conditions better. Christopher Haas really has no need to push that car any harder than he is doing. As long as he finishes where he is, there's nothing that Ackery can do to win the championship, because there's not enough points differential between them.
So all Christopher Haas has got to do, as we say, is just keep going and wait till the finish. And if the number 3, and that's the number 4, getting a little bit out of shape and losing a little bit of momentum there, and losing a couple of places to Belgian GT drivers, so it doesn't count in our championship, but it just goes to show how tricky the conditions still are.
Yes.
If Haas can keep going, if the number 3, even if the number 3 pops up on his tail, it's not a problem, is it?
Now Nicholas Armindo is back out again, now on slick tyres again, and we're looking to make progress, but he's dropped to 18th place.
And we'll wait to see what his first flying lap time is. Fastest lap of the race at the moment has been, what, a 1:34? We've got 1:33s as well, so if he's any quicker than that, then perhaps there's enough time for him to do so. 10 minutes, we aren't going to get 5 more laps out of this. It's not a lot, is it?
No, and with Sharble Walter having come into the pits, we've now got a bit of a shuffle going on in the order. I think we've potentially got a problem out on the timing again.
Well, we've got what appears to be a Ferrari on top of the leaderboard, and it's not that one, that's 02, it's number 8, it's Bontempelli, and they were on the podium in race 1, surprising us and everybody else, I think.
Christopher Haas has just dropped from 6th place to 18th, while doing only a 1:47 lap, so I'm afraid we have again got a glitch on the timing and scoring. It's been a little bit tricky here this weekend.
This has been tricky as well, and they can't fix this, can they? They're trying to get the lights sorted on 101. Having done its stop-go penalty, they are now trying to fix the lights, and of course they don't seem to be working.
No, a few more euros in the meter, I think, is what's needed. So we wait for the timing and scoring to hopefully pick up and correct itself.
So we know what's happening, but at the moment we're not really that sure. Another look at the 02, because somewhere in there should be our race leader behind that blaze of light.
Mamero was the man who was really going to benefit, wasn't he, from Sharble Walter coming back in.
We've got 8:55 to go, and we're looking. There was another car parked on the infield there, wasn't there? So there are cars dropping by the wayside, and it could well turn. There is the man who's on top of our timing screen at the moment. That's Bontempelli, the Italian GT champion and podium finisher earlier on in the race. If our timing is right, and he did spring up from nowhere, didn't he?
Yes, he did rather. I'm not entirely convinced that that's an accurate reflection of where he really is. If only because Thomas Ackery has suddenly shot up to 7th, and Christopher Haas has suddenly shot down to 26th. To 19th.
Christopher Haas might have a problem, or he might have a timing issue. We might have a timing issue, but at the moment, Mamero and Charbel Walter, that looks about right, doesn't it? Number 2 in first place and number 24 in second, having made a tyre stop.
Yes, having made another tyre stop, I would have expected him maybe to have dropped another place or two. We're showing one of the Belgian GT cars currently 4th overall.
Yes. But at the moment, after 28 laps, our timing screen tells us that this is the race leader. We're going to cross our fingers on that one.
That is the Kessel Racing Ferrari. Finished on the podium this morning and currently being scored as being in the lead on the timing screen as it stands. Lapalainen was right up there and too, and so he's now dropped to 10th place.
And he's there on track as well. I keep catching glimpses of that Milner Motorsport Porsche, and I think he should, as you say, should still be in the mix, shouldn't he? We've had some issues with now that's the way to end the season, isn't it? Is there a man in the moon?
Oh, several, clearly. 0-8, not to be confused with 8, has been assessed a penalty. That's another of the Belgian cars.
That's a stop-go penalty, and that'll be a pit stop or pit lane speeding infringement. It's stopped raining. That's Christopher Mies looking very happy, as well he might.
Well, he might, but he doesn't look as though he's a concerned driver because his car has suddenly dropped to 19th, does he?
He doesn't look that at all, no. And this is number 2. There you are. Now this is Mamero, and quite likely, we think, our leader. It's showing second on our leaderboard at the moment, but we have no idea where Bontempelli sprang into the lead or how he sprang into the lead from nowhere. Didn't even see him in the top 10.
No, or how Thomas Ackery suddenly gained about a dozen places.
And Christopher Haas lost many places. He's still down the bottom in the leaderboard in 19th spot.
Christopher Nygaard, having taken over from Florian Gruber, appears to be the last of the point scorers as we look at it there, but amongst those, one of the Belgian cars appears, number 04, so that will have to be taken out of the equation, which will bring Petri Lapalainen back into it. Marcus Paltala, having started the number 18 Milner car, it's now Lapalainen who will bring it home. 5.5 minutes remain.
Headlights flashing from the number 2 there, Christian Mamero, down the pit straight. And you can see with the lights just how bumpy parts of this circuit are. And that's Aston Martin in the gravel. And it's the number 4. Was Fred Macavici at the start. It is now Manu Rodriguez, isn't it?
Yeah, we've also got one of the Barwell Astons in the gravel, number 072. So that's the sound of the gravel being ushered out of the car.
And there's a car at the end of the main straight there. This is right on the grass. That's how it got there, wasn't it? It got tapped onto the gravel, and I didn't see on that replay who did it. And you can't see anything in the car, can you?
No, that's very tricky conditions for everyone concerned out there, and yet they'll bring them in to put them on the slick. So there must be some feeling of a dry track out there, or they wouldn't be risking not only their cars but their drivers to put them out there on those tyres in these conditions. And back up to speed.
Looking fine now with 4 minutes remaining. It's Bontempelli in the lead. Fred Macavici in that car with the best lap of the race is a 1:32. And it looks like our timing screens are all coming alive again, but we still have Bontempelli at the top. Mamero second, Charbel Walter third, which is about right on the let's go and have some slip tyres and get back out there. Michael Petit in 35 is showing fourth, so it's looking good for Alpina. And then it's Ackery, which is, I mean, we know he's good, but I didn't think he was that good. Lapalainen, Nygaard, Armindo. And
there's still a problem with this because they're still showing Christopher Haas and Mies down in 18th place. with an arrow indicating that it's just gained a place, and it's been sitting there for the last 4 laps. So there's still a problem, I'm afraid, that we're looking at.
He's getting a bit of a move on. Could he have had a spin without us seeing? We didn't get a message on the timing screen that said he'd had a spin, and we normally do if a car spins and continues. Our timing screen normally tells us, but that could have dropped him down to 19th place and nil point. It's not going to affect him because he's got a big lead over 32, which at the moment is 11th and nil point, and he's got a big lead over Ackery, which at the moment is what, 4th, 5th?
Yeah, I think there are a chunk of cars who have had a lap not scored. That's the Tyler prognosis, because you've only got the top 6 cars at the moment on the lead lap, and 7 cars maybe on the lead lap, and that certainly wasn't the case earlier on. So I think a number of cars, and among them Christopher Haas, has been short scored.
We had this issue earlier on in the GT race, which was 2 hours long and gave us plenty of time to sort it out, and it was eventually a power outage on the pit wall that switched the beam off, so a lot of cars didn't get counted by the beam and had to be put in manually on their correct laps, and it all came right in the end. But we haven't got time to do that now because we've got 1 minute 58 seconds on our countdown timer, and at the moment Bontempelli in number 8 is on his way towards what appears to be a first checkered flag of the year for Ferrari.
Well, if that result stands, there will be much excitement in the Bontempelli household, because he's already won the Italian GT3 championship last weekend at Monza, and here he's turned up in the FIA GTs for only, I think, the 3rd time this season, and looks to be going away with a podium place 3rd in one race, and, as you say, a win in the other. Volta has just made his way past Christian Mamero.
Let's have a look and see how.
See if we can find out where and how that happened.
And that's for 2nd place, so Walter up to 2nd, Christian Mamero down to 3rd.
Yes, Mamero busy flashing headlights at a car ahead of him, and in the process not able to keep the BMW behind. That's the JMB Ferrari, number 14, Philippe Rambaud.
Showing 19th on our leaderboard, and a long way down as the countdown timer goes to its last 45 seconds. The checkered flag will be shown to the race leader next time he goes past the start-finish line. So we're effectively on the last lap of this race, and Thomas Ackery is going to be 5th at the moment, and 5th place will get him a useful 4 points, but he's 9.5 behind Christopher's Haas and Mies. So Ackery and Rodriguez, good finish but not good enough. Those won't be the points if we think that 17th place is bang on for the number 26 Audi.
Yes, but if Nicholas Armindo, whereas he in 32 doesn't score,
no,
he will score 1 point,
not enough,
but it may take Ackery above him. That's my point. Ackery, I think, if he were to score 4 points, he will move up to 2nd by 1 point ahead of the other Audi, Nicholas Armindo and Cesar Campanico. They started on 42 points. According to our timing screen, they're running 9th. That's net 8th because it's not. It's net 7th because there are 2 Belgian cars ahead. So Ackery will get 5th and Armindo will get 7th. That will give him 2 points, and they'll finish even on points.
Here's Bontempelli on the last lap, and it appears that your commentary team may be right about a timing glitch, or we may be wrong and just missed Bontempelli plunging out of the darkness. But he's on his way to what will be a checkered flag. They're going to give it to him now. This is the final race of the season. There is the final checkered flag of the year, and it's Ferrari's first of the year.
Darkness wreathes the circuit, headlights shining bright, and it's been a bright season, hasn't it?
It's been quite an interesting weekend as well, hasn't it? Bontempelli, Charles Walter in 24 will go 2nd.
Yes.
And Christian Mamero 3rd. That will be our podium here at the end of the 2009 season. But the most important thing is that although our timing says that he's in 17th place, Christopher Haas and his teammate Christopher Mies will collect the title for the year. That was a Belgian GT Ferrari on the side of the track there. No drama for us in this last lap of the race. So conditions again as tricky this afternoon as they were this morning. We started with rain and drove into dry, and this evening we started on dry and drove into rain. And we've got a mixed bag of results from both races because of the weather conditions. But despite all of that, and despite showing 17th on the leaderboard, although there'll be something like 15th or 14th really, Christopher Haas and Mies have ended the season as GT3 champions, and Audi have ended the season as GT3 champions in their first season. And that's an Ingolstadt tradition, isn't it?
Yes, come along, arrive like barbarians and just rule the world. That's the Audi way. Very, very impressive performance. There's the reaction from the Phoenix crew as the car crosses the line.
That's what they wanted to see. And that's the championship there. Whatever else happens, whatever's right or wrong on our timing, that is the championship, and there's no doubt about it.
16th place on a lap down they are credited with, but that's not of any interest to them. What matters to them is the fact that they have, as you say, carried away the Drivers' Championship at the first attempt for the Audi R8 LMS in its GT3 format.
Yes, you've got to say honours even. Hexis have got the team title and Audi got the drivers' title, and that pretty much sums up the last half of the year, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. It's been a very mixed season with wins scattered around the drivers' table. There were a number of other issues to be sorted in this. There is Lorenzo Bontempelli being hailed victor for the evening. His teammate there, Stefano Gattuso, has won the Ferrari Cup. That's already been decided. There's a cup for each of the manufacturers represented in GT3.
Well, Bontempelli, Charles Walter, Christian Manero, that's the finishing order here for the final time of this year. And,
Christopher Mies, I saw there,
waiting,
seeking out his teammate, Christopher Haas, who's yet to return to the pits area. He won't pull into that little inner sanctum, not having finished on the podium this time.
There's the result then. Ferrari at the top of the leaderboard for the first time this season. A finish and a good result for Charles Walter and Dalia Hurchin in second place for Alpina. A good result too for Eric de Donker and Christian Manero in the number 2 Matek Ford GT. And again, we've got an Alpina in 4th place, so good finish for them. That's the number 35, the MP Racing version. Then it's Ackery and Rodriguez, 5th. Good but no cigar really, except they've got the team title sorted. Off that leaderboard is the 26 car of Haas and Mies, which has brought home the title for this year.
Yes, if these results stand, then Thomas Ackery will have taken the Aston Martin Cup along with Julian Rodriguez, and Eric de Donker will have taken the Ford Cup.
And we've got a winning duo down there, and we've got Haley with them, so let's find out how they feel about winning the final race of the year.
Congratulations guys, how was the race for you?
Yeah, he made a very good race. He was very, very fast, and he made a very good job. Yes, we are very happy for us, for the team.
Italian championship.
He is the Italian championship of 209, so the best. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
The best weekend that you can imagine, I guess that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. They've really been enjoying themselves here in Belgium,
and so have we, Graham. The season has ended in Belgium.
It was over thus.
The sun has set over Zolder over the last race of the FIA GT3 year and over the last race of the GT Championship for the year, and it's all been very, very dramatic. It hasn't been, there's never been a quiet moment since we started this back at Silverstone in May, and it's just been drama from one race to the next.
Yes, it has, and the drama, just to wind up on the results, has also gone the way for Nicky Lanik, who will take the Porsche Cup Here are the overall championship points.
And as we said, Haas and Mies 49.5 points. Didn't score in that race, didn't need to. Thomas Ackery closed the gap to 44, and it wasn't enough. Armindo and Campanico get third though, and then
It's equal points, isn't it?
Yes.
So equal second and third
There's a count
place
back in
share. There will be a count back somehow. We'll assume that that's been done on that caption.
and Stefano Gatuto with that win here comes up the leaderboard as well, and that's a good weekend, as they say. And everyone's had a fair crack of the whip this weekend. We've seen just about every manufacturer. We've got 1, 2, 3 manufacturers in the top 3, which is what we always like to see. We've got a podium coming up for the top 3 in the race and for the various winners by manufacturer, as is normal with the GT3 Championship. So we've got a busy couple of minutes before we wrap the season. And this Sunday afternoon here in Belgium, and you're looking at the second and now the winning car there, the number 8 of Bontempelli and Gattuso, which really snuck under the radar during that safety car period and came out on top from nowhere, from so far back that we thought it was a timing error, which is quite an achievement really, isn't it?
Yes, it really was remarkable, and I'm still not entirely sure where Christopher Haas lost his lap, because he's scored a lap down and behind the likes of Bert Longin and Francois Lamotte in the Belgian cars. However,
with those conditions, there were cars all over the place.
Yes.
All he needed was a little spin, and that would have been enough to put him 1 lap down.